Hey guys, welcome back to the Management Huddle. Today, I am going to stay within the topic of how to create a winning events plan, and I will be breaking down a few of the steps that I gave in my previous video. So, if you want to know how to create a winning events plan, you have to watch episode 2 to see the tips and tricks that I gave. But today I'll be breaking down a few of them, starting with budgeting, and then I might do a little on venue setup and some things that you might want to pay key attention to when you're thinking about venue selection and setup. So stay tuned and keep watching. Welcome to the Management Huddle, your playbook for leveling up in sport management. Firstly, I will be talking about budgeting. And this is one of my favorite areas to do when it comes to events planning. What people fail to do, we get up and we want to plan an event and we say, okay, I have this grand idea. Let's do this event. Let's do this sport event. And, you start throwing stuff together and you have no idea what it will cost, what you need, where to get the funding from. So for today, I'll be breaking down some budgeting tips. I will be basically kind of guiding you through how to create a somewhat comprehensive budget. We won't get too comprehensive today, but it's a basic guideline that you can use when creating your budget. So, in order for you to plan an effective event or a fun event, something that people want to go to, you need to have an idea of what it will cost. So, you want to look at your possible income streams and, of course, your expenses. So, first, my go-to tip for anyone, starting in events planning, Microsoft Excel is your friend. You want to be utilizing Excel as much as possible. So apart from your basic documentation, because remember, we did our goals and objectives, and that will kind of, frame out for you what you will need to start that budget. So today, I'm going to show you what I would do for just a basic event. If I, wanted to plan a sport event, say a little tournament or so. When you're creating a budget, the first thing you want to do is to, of course, open your Excel sheet. Goes without saying. But what I like to do is to create different sheets so I can keep a track of, my income and expenses differently. So when I start, I would name my first sheet summary. Oops. And I name my second sheet income. And then I would go expenses. I'm going to try and go through this a little bit quick. So, of course, whatever the name of the event is, so say we're planning a small sports day for maybe a little school. They're having a small sports day, nothing major. I put the name of the event, so Big Girls School. All right, let's not call it Big Girls School. Let's call it Jamaica School Sports Day. So, of course, the first line will be my item description. I like to have amount, cost, and then a total line. And then and this is just for optics, because I like when things look a particular way. Then I might bold that. You come here as well and bold those. Give myself some space. Okay, let's open that back out a little. Because based on what you might do, you may want to have some space, right? Give your description column a bit of space as well. So for amount, cost, and total, we know that all of this would be dollar values. So we can automatically set that as for dollar amounts. And this would be our summary page. So here I would write income. And then things in the caps. So we go income, and I may go down a bit, leave some lines, then I go total income, right? And then I'd come down a bit and I'd go expenses. And your expenses might look a lot. So remember, you can always insert lines. And I'll probably go total expenses. And under that, I'd go net profits slash loss, right? Whatever we expect to earn. Oh my. Again, this is not a regular laptop, so right. Okay. And so we have that. And I'd come over here and I'd probably do insert a sum. And of course you can go there. And I like to double line these things. So I know that this is a total column. So I put a double line there. And same for here. I do sum. I come there. And because I don't want to, I just copy and paste the formatting here so I get better lines. And then I'd probably add some outlines to create that. So net profit or loss, I'm going to move this down one so it doesn't get too confusing. And that would be this minus this here, and that would give us our total net profit. And of course, copy the format, same thing. Okay, so you can do everything on one sheet, or you can break them out income expenses and link back the first sheet. And to make it easy, some people you can kind of do it here, just list everything here and make your life super easy. For me, I like to break it out because I like to just look at my income separate from my expenses, have kind of a list going as to what I'm expecting, what my expenses are, so I know where I stand, and then I link it back. I would probably do that in a next video. For now, and in the interest of time, I'm gonna just do everything on this sheet. So first, I like to start with my expenses. So if we're having a small school sports day, the first thing we might want to consider is venue rental. Say we didn't have a venue, we'd want to know venue rental costs.
So basically, I sped up the video, and what I did here was just to drop in all the expenses that I could think of off the top of my head for this event that I was using. Remember, it's not a real event, so I was basically just capturing different things. So what you want to do is ensure that you capture all your expenses and be as detailed as possible and drop them here.
So we have venue rental, and in the description you may want to say you're renting a venue. You might want to just put the name of the venue if you want. You could say renting, okay, let's use a university. We could say UTech, and UTech is University of Technology here in Jamaica. We could say UTech sports field, and then the amount would be one, and whatever it costs. Oh, let me fix this back to actual number and not dollars, because amount does not have a dollar value. I know. Right. So the amount would be one there, and whatever costs. So say it costs 80,000. We just put 80,000. And of course, we'll run the total column when we're done.
So once again, I've sped up the video, but here I'm just dropping in the descriptions, and you want to be as detailed as possible. What this does is if somebody should take up your budget and you're not there to explain, they're able to just read what each line item is about. Um, for me, here I'm adding in the name of the venue, the amount of officials, and you get the general gist of what is happening here. I know it's the amount and cost is also there, but sometimes it's easy to read stuff right off the bat for those who may not really be financially savvy. So I like to do this whole description column. It also helps me to remember what I did, you know, in the event before if I should be doing it again. So you might want to practice this. If you don't, it's okay. But I find it to be a useful trick.
Of course, next is to run your formula, your total. Then you put that in and double click. And of course, already you know that it's going to cost you 490,250 Jamaican dollars to, you know, get any of these things that you need. So, where's the money coming from? Of course, your next step is to kind of determine where you're going to get the funding from. So, first things first, the first thing anybody always goes to is a sponsorship. And you can approach sponsorship in many different ways. You can approach it event wide. You can just say, you know, sponsor this event and see if, you know, what you get. Or you could just be very detailed and ask people to sponsor different things in the event. So you could reach out to a sponsor and say, you know, how about you donate the trophy and we put your company's name on that trophy? So we could call it, you know, first place trophy sponsored by the Management Huddle, for instance, for argument's sake. And you would put that cost, you'd still put the trophy cost in your expenses, and you'd put the payment here that you're getting from the company in your sponsorship line. So that's the importance of breaking out your income. So let's say we're getting a sponsorship, and this is a school sports day, so we could reach out to alumni. So let's say alumni sponsoring the sports day. Alumni sponsorship, or we could just say alumni association. And let's say for here, it's one, because of course it's a flat sponsorship. And let's say they're giving $250,000 towards sports day because they love the excitement, right? Then we would do the same thing. We'd run the formula, that times that. And of course, we can bring this down to here because we know, you know, as we fill in our sponsors, we know what is there. So that's that. Let's say we're going to charge at the gate for the parents that are coming to watch. We could say gate receipts. And you could ballpark this because you don't know how many people will be there, but you know how many tickets you'll be printing. So if you are printing or you're buying armbands, and say you're buying 100, let's not say 100, 100 is small. Let's say you're buying 500 armbands. So we could say, oh, and that would be here, by the way. So the armbands cost should be in your expenses, but let's say we're buying 500 armbands, or we have 500 armbands at the school already sitting down waiting for us. We could say we're expecting 500, what do we call these people now? 500 spectators. And you could literally name this anything you want. Let's say you were charging $1,000 to enter the space. You put that there. And of course, you can see what's happening there. So it would be 500. But let's be a little bit more realistic. This is a school sports day. We don't expect 500 spectators. So the most we may get across different age groups and what we're calling this now, age groups, or the different grades that exist at a school, you may want to say 100 for parents. We're charging the parents, but we're asking them to maybe contribute. And there we are. So we realize we have a shortfall of 140. And for that shortfall, we could just do fundraising. And remember, fundraising, and say we raised 100,000. We had a cake sale and we did 100,000 and we're short 40,000. Of course, you'd continue going on and on until you can figure it out. So anything that you collect in cash or kind, and anything that you spend towards the event, so anything you collect in cash or kind would go in your income. Anything you spend towards the event goes in your expenses. One thing you must also capture in your budget is things that you get that don't immediately translate to money, right? So if someone decides to buy a trophy or two trophies for your event, you still need to know the cost of those trophies so you can account for it in your budget. So it's a good way that if you don't get that sponsorship at the next event, you already know the cost, so you have an accurate budget. So you want to remember those things. And of course, as I said, I can do a more detailed one the way I normally do it. But for the purposes of this video, I kind of just made this pretty quick, pretty easy, and just an easy way that you can outline your expenses. So as promised, I did say I was going to show you an example of a budget. I do plan a volleyball event each year. I won't say for what organization, just to protect the privacy of those people. But this is what the summary sheet looks like. And of course, there's some cells hidden, again, for protection purposes. But as you can see, I did have, competition entry fee tag there, sponsorship that I was supposed to put in. I wasn't finished with this sheet. I still have a bit of stuff to put in here for my report. But the basic part, which is what I wanted to show you, is the budget. So here you can see where I broke out each section. I did officiating, meals and hydration, awards, medical venue setup, and if there are any miscellaneous events, I like to have a miscellaneous line and assign a figure to it just in case. So, anything can happen on the day. And of course, you can see I have amount, cost, total, and a further total column where I bring out the actual totals for the different areas. There's no description here, but on a normal day, I would add description. So if somebody other than me should take up my budget, they automatically can figure out what the line items represent. And so of course you see I run a total here, and this event would cost approximately 1,064,000 Jamaican dollars to do. Then here I bring in the entry fee. That's what's being charged to the different persons entering the competition. And then you can see what profit or loss. Not a major profit, of course, but of course you're not running at a deficit, which is a plus. So you have the idea. And again, this does not include sponsorships that, were received. If I go back to my main page here, which I like to call financials or summary, you can see competition entry fee. And of course, you see the line. This is what I was talking about, where you can link the information to different sheets. So if I click that, it takes me directly to my linked sheet. And this is really just a breakdown of the different invoices that were charged to the different entrants for the competition and what they were charged for. This is a good way to keep your invoicing information in one space. And you can just pull this information out, put it on a template, and you can send it to your people who are coming to your competition. So last thing I want to talk about is venue setup. And one of the things I like to do is a planogram. And here's an example of one, pretty simple. This is for the same volleyball tournament I was talking about. It was a beach tournament. And so I created this in Microsoft PowerPoint. Sometimes I use Canva depending on the level of the event and how technical I need to get with the drawing. But this was a pretty simple event. So of course, once I set this up, I really don't change it for the upcoming staging of this same event. But I have this so my team have an idea of where things should be if I'm not on site when the setup is going on. So you notice I also give a distribution of where tables should go. Sometimes I'll do it for chairs. And depending on what's happening on the day, you want to put down as much information as possible. Anything can happen. You may be pulled in one direction or another. Having a diagram of your venue is important. And one thing I would encourage anybody doing an event is to always have a venue walkthrough. Walk through your venues at least a month, weeks before your event. You want to know what's there, what's available, what you need to change, if it needs to be cut, if it's indoor, if it needs to be cleaned, if it needs to be painted. Will you need more tables? Will you need lighting? You need to know all of these things, and that's what a walkthrough does for you. Once you do that walkthrough, you want to be documenting all the things that you need to address, and so you can put that down and make a plan on how you will attack each of those. So that brings me to the end of this episode. Thanks again for joining the Management Huddle. If there's anything else that I would have posted in my previous video regarding planning events or how to create that winning events plan, please let me know if you want me to speak on any of the other areas. As always, thanks for watching and stay tuned for more videos where we tackle different areas within sport management.